So, I have just got done watching the 14th episode of Star Wars The Bad Batch, its first season, titled War-Mantle. So, it is now time to review it. So, yeah, join me, Lukimus Prime, and my best friend, Oppo Ranscisis, as we review the episode together. So, yeah. Anyway, cue the intro. Alright guys, so as always I'm going to let Ranscisis, aka Alexander, share his thoughts on the episode first. And yeah, eventually guys, please consider subscribing to his YouTube channel to give him some support. So I'll have a link down below in the description for you guys to go subscribe to him and check out his channel because he deserves it. So yeah, anyway, take it away, Oppo.
Ha 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 ha, hello there, 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 the is Operancy. It is sis. The is operancy. It is sis. And as you can see, I am today on the wonderful seashore in the wonderful, wonderful country of Bulgaria on my vacation. It's beautiful, beautiful, the nature, everything. But I didn't bring my microphone, so you're gonna have to deal with worse sound quality slightly. But I don't think that's too big an issue right now. But you know what is an issue? This episode. This episode was a disgrace. It was a terrible episode. It was a disgusting episode. It was an abomination. And let me tell you why it was like that. It was like that the episode was ruined by just one small scene, which was one small thing for the Bad Batch, but a terrible thing for the Star Wars community, you know? And other than that, I loved the episode. But that one scene, it ruined everything for me. And that was the scene where the implied death of Lama Su. In fact, I'm sure that it is the death of Lama Su, because the way it was staged, the way it was directed, the way it was framed, the way, you know, the doors closed with the troopers coming slowly towards him with his scared expression, and the music, that all very much confirms that he is dead. They wouldn't have done that if he isn't dead. That is a classic trope of showing a death off screen. So Lama Su is dead. Tanwei, or Tanwi, or however the name is pronounced, she is dead as well, and her death wasn't even shown either. It was a terrible death. And yet Nala Se, a Clone Wars character who did not appear in the movies, and who is by far one of my most hated characters, lives to fight another day? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Lama Su's story should not be finished here. Lama Su had so much greater potential still, especially in this series, so no. Alright, we got the bad out of the way. Now let's talk about the good. What is good? Oh, and by the way, I hate Rampart as a character and everything. I just hate him. Okay, we got the bad out of the way. Now let's talk about the good. And what is good in this episode? Well, let me tell you what is good in this episode. The good thing about this particular episode is, first of all, the way it begins. It begins so action-packed, almost like a horror movie, like a thriller, you know, with the scary dogs, you know, that the Tusken Raiders have, and that the Coruscant, you know, guards have in the Ahsoka arc and the Clone Wars, pursuing Gregor. And it's in the dark, it's all framed so greatly, you know, it's so dramatic, it's so scary, the atmosphere is so eerie, so intense, and the music, the score is fantastic, the score especially throughout the whole episode, and the setting with the forest planet, amazing. That was fantastic. Rex's appearance was quite a fun one this episode again. I thought we'd see the last of him, but no. And then the Bad Batch obviously goes to rescue Gregor. And even, especially at daylight, when we see the full setting of this planet, with all of the wonderful, you know, with the wonderful bushes, the wonderful trees, the pines, and everything, it's very beautiful. It's a great location for the Star Wars universe. Not the most original one, but a fun one. Now, in regards to Gregor, he is portrayed here pretty much like he's portrayed in Rebels, and the voice also the same one that Dee gives to Gregor in Rebels. So obviously we're left to assume that he has gone crazy because of the explosion that we saw happen in the Clone Wars, and I assume that's also why the inhibitor chip had a problem, you know? And it's, yeah, and the action sequences were fantastic. One of the few I love Wrecker, but he did not make me laugh for the past couple of episodes. But finally, I'm laughing at him again when he says,
Teg's got a point. Hunter has a point. The kid's got a point.
I mean, that was hilarious. I thought that was very funny writing right there. But yes, so that was the funny part of the episode, which I loved so much. And is that it? Pretty much for all I wanted to cover. No, there's a couple more things, of course. I loved how they reused the New Hope score, though I think there was too much of a New Hope score used. I think it was too on the nose. I think the references were too straight on. And we obviously saw a lot of new stormtroopers now replacing the clone troopers, and I think that was pretty fun. I think that's a nice concept to be introduced here, and basically introduced in a good way. Is that it? I think that's most of the stuff, but alright, yeah, just before I finish, because I think I pretty much covered most of the stuff, I do want to say that I am interested in how the confrontation between Hunter and Crosshair will go, because I think that, I don't know why Crosshair didn't just shoot him immediately, given how much hatred Crosshair has, though he did say, obviously, following orders, and since Hunter wasn't ordered to be executed, obviously, that means he's following his order. And, is that it? Yes. Once again, I really liked how much they gave to Echo in this one, because Echo has not been the most memorable to me since episode 4 with Fennec Shand, where he pretends to be a droid. But here we have an intentional callback and parallel, you know, it's like poetry, it rhymes, with the Clone Wars and Skako Minor, and how he doesn't want to abandon Gregor because of his own situation being similar. And I think that was a nice touch, very George Lucas-y. Alright, that's it. Thank you everyone for checking out this review.
Alright guys, now it's up to me to review it. So yeah, now, this episode in my opinion was, you know, it was once again really good, but there was a couple of questionable aspects about it which I'm going to get through, so yeah, here we go. Now, so the episode begins with on a planet called, I think it's called Daro, and we see a clone that's being chased by the Empire, and they have like some creatures with them that they're using, you know, as like, you know, as like dogs, as basically, you know, attack dogs. I think they're called Massifs, yeah. I think that's what they're called, yeah. And the clone attempts to escape, but sadly, he ends up getting captured again, unfortunately. So yeah. And this clone is revealed to be none other than Gregor, guys, from, you know, Star Wars Rebels, and of course from the Clone Wars, but yeah. So yeah, he has made his appearance in this. So now during a mission for Sid, as confirmed by Tech, who mentions it, the Bad Batch receives a message from Captain Rex on a hologram, and he informs them that, you know, an associate of his, which is, you know, Gregor, has been captured by the Empire, and he asks them to retrieve Gregor. And they're hesitant to do it at first, you know, because obviously they're on a mission for Sid, and they're not sure it would be a good idea to deviate from the mission. But before Rex can explain, you know, who Gregor is, a beacon rings and he's got to go. And he transmits the coordinates, which is to Daro, as shown by Tech, who explains it to them. So the Bad Batch travel to Daro, where they discover an Imperial base there, and what's pretty, you know, interesting is, guys, this is officially the first episode, you know, in chronological order, pretty much, in the show, to feature the Stormtroopers, you know, the Beta. This is like the design of them was pretty strange, really, very different to how they are in, you know, the Clone Wars, this final episode, and also in Rebels. So I can assume this is like a Beta design of them, I think, maybe. Possibly, because they look different to the Imperial Stormtrooper design, which is my favourite Stormtrooper design. One thing that I also was interested in was we saw clone commandos training them, so it was very nice to see that armour return. It was pretty cool because, you know, seen it before on the shows, and of course you get to play as that armour in Battlefront 2, which is pretty awesome, the 2017 version. So it seems these Stormtroopers are being trained, and at first the Bad Batch reckons that these are clones with new armour. But yeah, that is of course not true, really. So Omega and Wrecker stay at the ship as backup to guard it, and they have a bit of a game together, which is pretty cool. Yeah, I mean it's what you can expect Omega to do really, because she likes to play games. So Hunter, Tech, and Echo infiltrate the base and they breach it to find the clone, and that's friends with Rex. And yeah, they luckily are able to find him in his cell and they rescue him, and he reveals that he is Gregor. Now, one thing that I will say about this base, guys, is that it gave me so many vibes of the Death Star from the original trilogy, from A New Hope, Death Star 1. And what's cool is they even brought back several familiar music tracks as well from A New Hope, which it gave me a sense of nostalgia, and like I said, vibes of A New Hope, absolutely, and of course of the Death Star. Because the design really did remind me a lot of the Death Star from, the original trilogy, absolutely. Like, it was pretty nice callback to it, really. And I think it's a bit of a foreshadowing of what's going to come later, of course. We can assume that in this point of the time, the Death Star is already under construction, of course. As shown at the end of Revenge of the Sith. So, yeah. But yeah, this was pretty nostalgic, absolutely. So they rescue Gregor from his prison after the guard refuses to give him some food because he's starving, and calls him Captain Traitor. So yeah, poor Gregor. And he gets rescued by a Bad Batch who infiltrate. They take down the guard and they explain that Rex has sent them. And Gregor accepts their help. Then we get some pretty cool shots where, they're trying to escape, and we get a few gunfire. And eventually, when they take down a clone commando and his team that he's training, they take off the helmets and realise that these new clones, as they think, are actually not clones, or they're actually, just random soldiers that aren't exactly the same as each other, so yeah, they're all different. So yeah. And Gregor realises that these are what's going to replace them in the future, because it looks like they're going to be, getting rid of the clones. Now, we also had a subplot in this episode on Kamino, so where we get to see Crosshair and Admiral Rampart, Rampart says they've got to keep an eye on the Kaminoans because he's very suspicious of them. And Lama Su says to Nala in a private room that the Galactic Empire has cancelled all their contracts, and Nala C says their success with the Republic is known across the galaxy, and Hawks will find other clients. But Lama Su says the Empire is nothing like the Republic, which is true because the Empire is very different to the Republic, and he fears that the Empire will destroy them rather than allow their cloning operations to continue. And Lama Su says they must leave in order to ensure that they can survive. And he orders us to gather all what's essential while he makes arrangements for their departure, which Nala agrees to, because I imagine she didn't want to die either. So yeah, now after it's back on Dara, whatever it's called, as they're escaping, however, there's a bit of complications, because we got some TIE fighters attacking the Marauder, which was very well visualised, absolutely. It's the same ones we saw in the final scenes of Revenge of the Sith as well, when Darth Vader's burnt body's being taken to a medical bay in Coruscant with the Emperor, so yeah. It was nice to see them, and they've appeared in other episodes too of the show, which is nice, now. So during the escape, as they're trying to jump onto a ship, however, the problem is, due to complications, Hunter isn't able to grab on, and he falls down deep below into the forest area of the planet. And he orders a Bad Batch to leave him behind. But Omega doesn't want to leave him, but they have their orders from him to leave, which they do, and they successfully escape. But the bad news is, Hunter is captured by a clone commando and his team, and also the Massifs, yeah. So yeah, unfortunately, Hunter is captured, but he allows himself to be captured to buy the Bad Batch time to escape. So yeah, I guess that's a very heroic thing to do, really, but yeah, I wonder how he'll escape. Now back on Kamino, Rampart confronts Lama Su and tells him he's disappointed at the Kaminoans' lack of cooperation, and he informs Lama Su that a disturbing matter has been brought to his attention. And then we see the elite troopers entering with Nala, and Rampart says that that Llama's chief scientist was gathering medical personnel to flee Camino. And Llama pretends to be surprised and says he'll decide on a suitable punishment. Rampart then says that while he found the clones overrated, he tells Nala that he hopes to utilise her services for the Empire, but he then tells Llama Su that his services are no longer required. And then we see 2 elite troopers taking Llama Su into custody because the door's shut. But I've got a very weird feeling, guys, that they might have executed him. I've got a very weird feeling, I can just sense that they might have killed Llama Su. Which I really don't. I really hope they haven't done that because he's my favourite Camino one and I hope they haven't killed him. But ever since this show began, I've always had a feeling that he would get killed off, you know, due to the clones being, you know, removed from the service of the Empire. And Llama Su, of course, being against behind the show, as we've seen. So I really hope they haven't killed him off, really. I hope that he survives at some point, but I'm not sure what's going to happen, and we don't know what's going to happen to Nala either, really. I have to wait and see, because we've got 2 episodes left of the show, just 2. Then back on Dal, we get a final shot where we see Hunter is locked in a cell, and then we get to see him greeted by Crosshair. Crosshair says he was hoping for a whole squad to show up after Hunter says, you know, he thought he'd see him there, yeah. So I don't think Hunter was surprised to see Crosshair, really. But Crosshair tells him that while he was hoping for the entire squad to be captured, he says that he's satisfied with Hunter just for now. So yeah, it looks like Hunter's in a difficult position, you know, due to being captured, you know, by the Empire. But hopefully in the next episode he might get rescued by Barat. We'll have to wait and see. So guys, this was a pretty good episode, really, but I was mixed on how they treated Llama Su in the episode. I really hope they haven't killed him off, but I've got that sense that he might have been killed off due to the way the door's shut and we never saw him again. So I'm hoping he's still alive in the next couple of episodes. We'll have to wait and see, won't we? But yeah, there's 2 more episodes left, guys, and yeah, episode 15 is coming next week, and yeah, hope it'll be good, yeah. And then after that, the series finale. So guys, this was me reviewing the 14th episode of Bad Batch. It's called War-Mantle with Oppo Ranscisis. So you know the drill, guys. Be sure to give this video a like. Also, be sure to leave comments what you guys thought of today's episode of Bad Batch if you've seen it. Also, be sure to subscribe to Oppo, like I told you to the start of the video, because he deserves subscribers, absolutely. Also, be sure to join Team Bam by pressing subscribe for more videos coming in the future. And may the Force be with you always.